Tricksy Venture Crew leader. We hate him. We hate him.
Hello friends and welcome back to ReddX, your source for the freshest daily Reddit content anywhere on the internet. Promise, swearsies, it's just a fact and it's totally science. Go ahead and look it up. So we had a pretty heavy past couple of days with the NeckBEARD saga and Ramtide's continuing videos introducing me to Fatal. So I made a video on Fatal yesterday. If you haven't checked that out, that's because it is only on my Discord and Facebook page. I decided not to post it on YouTube because it is probably over the line, to be completely honest. So we're going to take a step back today, jump into r/NeckbeardStories, cover the last series of stories from user Lady Saber, and this should be the third and final entry in the Sir Sam saga, unless somebody digs up some posts that I haven't seen yet, and then I'd be glad to read those. But for now, we will wrap this epic journey so that we might continue into another one quite soon. I know a lot of people have been requesting the Wolfbeard saga because I've been posting some polls and stuff, basically trying to get a feel for my audience and what they want to see. So let's wrap this, and then we could do that, and probably a whole bunch of other stuff in between. Sound good? I like it. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and jump right into these stories. Sir Sam the Chivalrous tries to sports, or how I got smacked with a neck planet shuttlecock. Hey everyone, Lady Saber here, back with the 11th installment of Sir Sam the Chivalrous. New readers, we've gotten pretty far along in this series, and you'll want to go back and read the earlier editions so this story makes more sense. MiladyBot will be somewhere in the comments. He is your friend, Zone. And since we're watching this on YouTube, check out the links in the description for the previous parts if you haven't yet. Anyways, player 1 is me, Lady Saber of House Snark. I'm pretty athletic, but it's mostly reserved to a few specific activities. Most of my classes have changed for the new semester, so I spend a lot of time meandering in the enormous school building like a stupid freshman. Player 2 is, most regrettably, Sir Sam the Chaste and Chivalrous. He wears standard neck planet attire of cargo shorts, a graphic tee that's far too tight, and a wide-brimmed brown fedora, as well as a heavy musk of Axe's hottest fragrance, teenage angst, or maybe it's pretentious ejaculator. It's hard to tell. He's a chronic underachiever, taking the lowest level credits offered and treating his failing grades like an accomplishment. As such, he doesn't share any of my classes. Yet. Uh-oh. Ominous. A minor player 3 is my counselor, Sisel. He isn't a very agreeable person, but he and I have to work pretty closely to assure that my credits satisfy both the school and my exchange program. All of my classes are semester long, so after exams, my whole schedule changes. I'm taking creative writing, chemistry, sociology, and pre-calc. It isn't until a few days into these classes that Sisel summons me into his office. As it happens, the school requires students to take at least 2 gym credits to graduate. Because I'm planning for a lot of AP classes in my 11th and 12th year, I decide to switch sociology for the last open gym course. The next day, I head for my new class, Net Games. Oh, I play a lot of net games, bro. You ever play Dota? Maybe some Rainbow Six Siege? Oh, it's not that kind of net games. It's in the gym, on the opposite side of the school from the English department, making for a very long walk. I find the gym easy enough, but it's empty, and I hunt for another 5 minutes to find the actual classroom. I end up being late Walder Frey, and everyone looks at me like I've just crawled out from under a log, including Sir Sam. There are a few open seats, 2 of which are on either side of Sam. He excitedly pulls out a chair for me on his left. I opt for the seat on the other side of the room. Mr. Castle, our coach, is explaining badminton's rules, while Sam gives me occasional glances, turning almost completely in his seat. Subtle as a dynamite charge. As ever. Because I've missed the first few days, Mr. Castle dumps a stack of forms onto my desk to take home and sign. We just went over basic introduction stuff the last few days, so you should be good. After our crash course on the rules, everyone moseys out to the lockers to change out. As I stand, Sir Sam scrambles like an egg on an extra cheesy McMuffin to accompany my lady. He holds the door open for me, even though it's stopped open. The journey to the lockers is a short distance that takes a lifetime. The hallway is wide, but the tight crowd and number of turns makes the trip sufficiently awkward, with Sam lumbering by my side. He makes intriguing conversation as we walk.
So, net games, huh?
Yeah.
Cool. I only signed up for this class because I thought it meant, like, net games. I mean, games you play on the internet. You know, on the computer.
Unfortunately, I fall right in line with Sam on that one. I'd like some vinaigrette with my word salad. Oh, okay. Based on the number of other students who have yet to see the sun this year, he is not alone in his mistake. I managed to deflect conversation long enough to reach the door to the girls' room, and I half expect Sam to try and follow me inside. Before I can stop him, someone else does the honor. We'll call her Bree. Yo, what are you doing?
Nothing. Just talking to Lady Saber.
Neato! This is the girls' locker, so why don't you find someone else who doesn't want to talk to you, okay? Bree is a big girl, and has obviously practiced the jock persona well. Sam considers holding his ground, but backs off with his face red and his fists clenched. As we change, Bree and I talk. So, how you liking your new boyfriend? Sam? Oh, we're not... I'm playing with you. That kid's a creep. You're that exchange student, right? That's me. Bree eventually asks about my scar and offers to tell a few of the more fantastical versions of the story that have been passed around. Hang out with me today. He won't fuck with you. While piling back into the hallway, Bree and I get separated in the crowd. At the end of the hall, Sam catches up with me like a freight train to a loaded school bus. He's still wearing the same getup, fedora included. What he did with his 10 minutes in the locker room, I don't want to know.
Hey, Lady Saber. What's up? I can't wait for this class to be over.
Me neither. Believe me.
I'm not even gonna do anything in here. It's not like anyone could actually make me.
Those are about all the words he can spit out before we're in the gym. Mr. Castle comes in behind the class, and we take a seat on the bleachers while he explains what the plan is for the day. Sir Sam plops down to my left, slouching back and taking up far more than a reasonable space. Bree is on my right, and I feel like I'm about to be drawn and quartered between a she-wolf and a buttered rhinoceros. While Mr. Castle briefly explains daily gym routine, Bree and I maintain a strained conversation as a pretense for ignoring Sam. He refuses to be left out. As Bree and I talk, Sam oh so subtly scoots closer and tries to insert himself into our conversation, laughing boisterously at our jokes. Bree scoots in the other direction, giving me space to scoot away. Sam follows right along, making a delightful scooter puff train. Choo-choo! This goes on for almost half a meter. I try holding up my palm for personal space and get a high five. Bree has a pretty weak stomach for cringe. Bruh, Sam, you need to give Lady Saber some damn space.
What are you talking about, random girl I don't know?
Dude, seriously? Do you have any idea what personal space is? Not soon enough, Mr. Castle rouses us to do some warm-ups. Sir Sam has already decided that
warm-ups are beneath him.
He and a few others stay sitting, while the rest of the class go through the motions of running laps, a round of suicides, and a few basic stretches. All the while, Sir Sam is just watching me. His face is slightly lost. He desperately wants to follow me around, but he doesn't want to have anything to do with Bree. He continues to overthink his strategy until the class finally finishes. We go to work setting up the badminton nets, and Sam is pretty much the only one still sitting out. Mr. Castle's had enough of it, and after a minute of persistent berating, Sam reluctantly gives in, but with Bree by my side, he still holds his distance. As it turns out, I'm actually pretty good at badminton. Mr. Castle lets us all free play and strolls around to give people some advice. Bree and I start out together, but we eventually decided to split up and find some other matches during the last few minutes of class. No sooner has Bree left, than Sam swoops in for a chance to
win my lady's heart,
tipping his fedora in greeting.
Hey, Lady Saber, wanna play a game?
Everyone else is paired off in singles or doubles. I'm now trapped like Frodo in Shelob's lair. I was actually just about to grab some water.
You've hardly done anything.
You too. I shrug that off and push through the double doors into the hall. I spend as long as I can drinking and stand around for a little longer before going back in. Sure enough, most people have switched around, but the faithful Sir Sam is still waiting for me.
You must have been thirsty.
I have no idea what to say to that either, but Sam is always happy to fill in the blanks.
We're gonna play, right?
Sam, I thought you said you weren't going to do anything in this class.
Well, yeah, but I didn't think we were gonna play badminton. That's easy.
You know how to play?
Yeah. I used to play with my friends a lot. It's easy.
It's glaringly obvious that he's never played before. Trying to serve overhand, he holds the racket sideways for a swing and whiff 3 times before trying underhand. That one works, if hitting under the net counts. Out of bounds seems to change with each return. First it's that line, and then it's this line, and then it's somewhere sort of between those 2 lines, and I always manage to land just barely on the wrong side of it. It's like playing checkers with a pigeon. At one point, Mr. Castle stops by and tries to give Sam a little help with his technique, with enough,
"Yeah, okay, whatever," and yeah, I know that.
He moves on to the next person. After only a few rounds, another guy joins our game. He jumps in on my side, and Sam reacts immediately.
"Hey, 2-on-1 isn't fair."
Okay, maybe you two could be together.
"No, Lady Saber, you and I should be on a team."
Sir Sam aside, I still enjoy the game. I consider sitting it out, but I am not going to be kept from something new that I like. Plus, he'd probably just sit it out with me.
To make sure that I was safe.
Alright then. Luckily for me, there's not a whole lot of playing to do. Sam insists on trying to return every shot
in protection of my lady's honor.
My job is to hold the racket, look ready, and dance out of the way while Sam dives for the shots on my side of the court. It's kind of like playing underwater tag with a beluga. The other guy we're playing with is deliberately hitting towards my side, trying to give me something to return. When it's Sam's turn to serve, my turn is always next time. Sometimes he'll randomly hit it towards me, really fast.
"Hey, watch out! Think fast, Lady Saber!"
The best part, I'm on Fedora Patrol. When his suede great helm takes a tumble, I'm supposed to get it.
"Hey, Lady Saber, will you grab my hat?"
You dropped it, Sam.
"Yeah, but you're closer."
Was there ever so sweet a sound as 2 whistle blasts? As the class starts to take down the nets and put away the gear, Bree catches up with me again, and Sam sheepishly retreats to a safe distance, remaining there for the rest of class. After school that day, I storm into Sycel's office and beg for a class change. I stay for almost 2 hours, making everything from angry demands to crocodile tears. Finally, he relents and lets me switch back to my original schedule. I promise to make up the credit next year, planning to hunt for threatening course titles like Full Contact Sports Level 3. Oh, Sir Sam, how I have missed thee and thy cringe. Holding open a door that's already stopped open. That is so hilarious. Oh, I love that he thought it was net games. I mean, that was a joke that I made in the beginning, but he seriously did think that it was net games. I wonder if Sir Sam is actually any good at video games. He doesn't seem like a coordinated type. And while some video games don't necessarily take coordination, he also doesn't seem to be like the strategic type. That's even demonstrated in this story when he's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna sit on the side. I'm not gonna do anything." And then Lady Saber gets up and he's like, "Oh, now I'm gonna do something." Bro, stick with the plan, okay? I probably would have kept that jock girl by my side the whole time. She'd be like, "Let's split up and find other partners." And I'd be like, "No." You promised to save me. Stay right here. And then we could have avoided this whole situation. Although I guess having shuttlecocks lobbed at you was good motivation to go to the counselor and try and get the class changed. So all's well that ends well. I suppose we shall see how things devolve once again in the next story. Sir Sam the Chivalrous goes on a venture. Part 1. Or how my personal time is being hunted to extinction. Hey everyone, it's Lady Saber, back with the 12th installment of Sir Sam the Chivalrous. This story takes place shortly after the previous one. For you new readers, we're pretty far along by this point, so you'll definitely want to go back and read the earlier versions. Player 1 is Lady Saber from across the narrow sea. I'm 16 at the time, foreign exchange student, slowly learning how to America. I've always been a relatively outdoorsy person, but finding people to do things with can be tough. Regardless, I have a lot of experience backpacking, biking, and skiing in Europe before coming here, also Catholic. To the meeting, I wear cutoffs and a tank with my favorite leather jacket. Player 2 is my boyfriend, John. He lives pretty far out in the country, and his favorite outdoor things aren't too different from mine. He dresses like a normal person, with an obnoxiously large belt buckle. He has dark, short hair, stands about 1.8 meters tall, 5'10" for you plebeians, which is a thumb over Sir Sam. He has a southern accent that I could listen to all day. What's up with the obnoxiously large belt buckle? Before they got together, she's like, I love his belt buckle. And now she's like, it's too big. Player 3, for some reason, keeps being Sir Sam the chivalrous, the smoothest cheeked neckbeard of all. He has no experience outdoors of any kind. This has no bearing, of course, on his ability to be
the best and most informed camper the world has ever known.
He's fatter than your average Tumblr user. He has a squeaky, high-pitched voice. He usually reeks of death and acts his newest body fray, oh the douche, terminally diagnosed with nice guy TM syndrome and prone to outbreaks of euphoria. For those who may not know, venture scouting is a lot like Boy Scouting, but it's got some major differences. For one, it's co-ed, so both guys and girls can join. Additionally, it's for an older age group, 14 to 21 instead of 10 to 18, and we do more high-adventure stuff that Boy Scouts aren't allowed to do because of silliness like safety. John has been venturing for a while, and it's not hard to convince me to come to a meeting. We discuss it at school, he gives me the information, and I agree to show up. I've got a few friends in various clubs that might be interested, so I make the announcement at French Club and Go Club during the week. Did you hear that? It was a nail. Tipping its way into my casket. Sunday afternoon rolls around, and my host mother gives me a ride to the church where they meet. I'm slightly early, but I go inside to meet a few of the other people who have already arrived. One of the adults gives me a membership packet. It's about 5 pages long, mostly demographic information with some reading about the program. I tuck myself away in a corner to write against the wall and get pretty engrossed in the material as most people arrive. Before long, I'm interrupted.
Hey, Lady Saber!
Oh, Jesus Christ on a tricycle. Here? Sam? He made even less of an effort for this meeting. He's wearing a dark hoodie with a stretched out frocket, accessorized with weird stains. Cargo shorts filled to bursting with euphoria and atheism, and a small green trilby was perched atop his head. I still have no idea how many of those damn hats he has.
Yeah, I saw the flyer you left at Go Club. Too bad I wasn't there to see you, huh? You look dashing today.
He's fishing for an ego boost, but I refuse to bite. I didn't know you were into outdoor stuff. Subtle neg is subtle.
What, like camping and shit? Yeah, that's easy. I've been doing that ever since I was a kid. What's that paper thingamabob?
It's an application to join the crew. You should grab one from one of the adults. He retrieves a packet from the crew advisor and schleps a chair across the floor and plops down right next to me, panting from the slight effort. He's relatively focused, on me at least, covertly glancing at my thighs while reading. It isn't until he gets to the venturing oath that he stops.
As a venturer, I promise to do my duty to God and help strengthen America, to help others and to seek truth, fairness, and adventure in our world. Whoa, Lady Saber, have you read this venture oath thingamabob?
Yeah?
I can't believe they want us to conform to this shit. I mean, I know you're religious, but even you gotta see that it's stupid, right?
I am not in the mood to have this conversation today. You know you can't be here if you're an atheist, Sam.
What do you mean?
I mean they won't let you join.
That's retarded. I should be able to do whatever I want.
It's just the rules, Sam. With that, I excuse myself and return the packet to the crew advisor, hoping beyond hope that Sam's euphoria will overcome his fixation on me. The membership fee is $50, but I'm told not to worry about the money for now. As I finish speaking with the crew advisor, someone taps me on the shoulder from behind.
Lady Saber!
Not exactly the voice I expected. I turn on my heel to find myself face to face with Sam's mother. Mrs. Sam?
Hey! It's great to see you here. Sam told me you invited him to this little event. Was it that club y'all started together?
My brain is struggling to wade through whatever bullshit I imagine Sam has been feeding his mother, and I only managed to address part of it. Go Club? Yeah, I made an announcement, but I don't think Sam was there. I just left a flyer.
Oh, well, it still sounds like a neat little thingy. I had no idea that groups like this existed. Do you go camping much?
Yeah, I have experience back home, but none here.
Well, Sam will have a great teacher. He's never been. I don't know where the sudden interest came from, but it should be good exercise.
I have an inkling where the interest is coming from, but I decide to keep my mouth shut. And Mrs. Sam excuses herself while the meeting starts. John, at long last, arrives. I pinch him for stranding me with Sam. Not that either of us expected him, of all people, to show up. Sam remains at a safe distance while the meeting gets underway. There are about 15 people present, evenly split between guys and girls, with 5 or so being adults. Sam and I get introduced together in front of everyone. I'm first, speaking a little about my experiences back home and why I'm interested in joining the crew. Sam introduces himself
With a flourish.
fully removing his trilby for the swooning of all miladies present. He talks much too loud for the small room, regaling everyone at length about
How much he loves camping.
and
I'm so glad my good friend Lady Saber invited me here.
I grimace. The two of us get a smattering of applause, and I exit stage right. Ah, a smattering of indifference. During the meeting, we sit around folding tables arranged in an irregular polygon. Imagine a square with rickets. Sam sits across from me, staring daggers at John, while 2 people give a short presentation on how to pack a backpack for an overnight trip. To acquiesce milady's attentions, he makes utterly hilarious comments. No one laughs, clearly unable to appreciate a jest of such superior intellect. Weight is super important. Your pack shouldn't be more than 30% of your body mass, so only bring what you need.
Does that include textbooks?
What?
You said your backpack shouldn't weigh more than 30%. So should I put my textbooks in? Or no?
Sam is grinning like a Cheshire cat in spite of himself. The poor presenters have no idea how to handle this gracefully. Most people wouldn't. Well, it's not a school backpack. You don't really need the textbook, so...
Oh! I was wondering why I'd need to bring all that stuff to school.
Crickets. This continues the entire time, stretching out the presentation like a victim of the Spanish Inquisition. Sam glances at me to gauge my reaction after each punchline. By the end, everyone is all out of cringe. And more than thankful to just move on. The crew is planning to go on a backpacking and fishing trip at the end of the month. We'd park in a campsite on Friday and hike until it gets dark. On Saturday, we'll trek along a small scenic ridge to a private lodge that a friend of the crew owns. Around lunch, we'll fish in the lake and river on his property for a few hours. And after we finish, we'll hike into our campsite. In the morning, we'll have an easy 2 kilometers or so back to where we started and just drive home. Easy day. Or 2. There are multiple loops that we can take, which gets us where we need to go. A few topographic maps are passed around, and we quickly narrow our choices to 2 trails that are the same length we want and avoid steep grades. I peek over at Sam, who's been studying his map for some time, silently tracing his fingers over the paper. He raises a hand to get the crew president's attention and asks,
What about this route here that I found? No one else saw it. It goes right through the house and it doesn't curve all over the place.
He hoists his map like a Tagarian banner and plants a sausage finger firmly in the center. A few people crowd around to examine exactly what we've all missed. I cast a glance back to my own map lying on the table. After a few seconds, Sam's foolish grin is overshadowed by 4 confused scowls. He appears to have found the trail that only smart people can see. Sorry, dude. I don't see what you're pointing at.
What? How? It's like right there.
He jabs at the map with his finger, shaking it like San Francisco. Dude, that's a topography line.
What? No, it's a trail. That's what the snaky black lines are. Everyone knows that.
The trails are the dotted lines. The solid lines are topography. It shows elevation change.
I know that. I was pointing at you know what? Screw it. Just forget it. You don't see what I'm pointing at.
There's a brief pause as everyone eyes each other to confirm that what we just saw did indeed happen. Sam slouches back into his chair, struggling to hide his deflation. The crew votes to take the longer route in favor of a more shallow grade. All told, it's about a 20-kilometer loop. When the president asks for a show of hands of who plans to attend, Sam looks at me first before raising his hand too. There's a question asked about the food we'll be eating, and the response is only, Philmont rations. I have no idea what this means, but everyone else does apparently, so I stay quiet. Sam, naturally, knows as well.
Oh man, those are the best. I love rations.
After finishing our planning, the crew circles up and holds hands for a short closing prayer. I pity the girls who have to hold hands with Sam, but I'm still thankful that it isn't me. As everyone starts to pack up and leave, I stay to talk with the crew advisor about some other questions that I have. John helps the others to put away the tables and chairs, so Sam seizes the chance to be in my general vicinity. He stands beside me while the crew advisor and I talk, mouth breathing heavily. Sam, did you have a question for me?
No. Lady Saber asked what I was going to already.
Before leaving with Sam on my heels, John and I share a heartfelt goodbye. See you, loser. Later, fuckface. There's a noted lack of chivalry afterwards, but once I get home, this gem is waiting for me. While there were subsequent posts, none survived the purge. And what was that post, you ask? Let us see.
I simply cannot comprehend in any condition why brilliant, charming women consciously choose to court rubbish boys with a complete lack of deference or class towards them. Sincerely, one has to contemplate the unfortunate reality that most females simply do not covet a man who grasps their true worth.
And he used the wrong there. Such an intellectual. And of course, he's got some beardy bros that jump in.
I'm with you, Sam. The number of girls I see with random douchebags who probably beat them on the regular makes me lose faith in humanity.
Precisely. When a woman can be publicly demeaned by her so-called boyfriend and she chooses to remain with him, I grow despondent for nice guys everywhere who actually desire a meaningful relationship.
Yeah, this. It's too bad our generation only cares about hookups and notching bedposts rather than finding someone who actually matters. I wouldn't date a girl who lets her boyfriend smack her around. She's probably just a desperate slut who wants attention.
Desperate slut who wants attention is literally 90% of the girls at my school. Literally.
Oh, they ain't got much, but at least they got each other. I'm gonna tell you that. It seems like Sam will go to absolutely any length for Lady Saber. I don't know why he just doesn't find like a fellow legbeard, you know? He hears a 20-kilometer hike and he's like, that's not that bad. I can do that. Are you sure, bro? This next bit's gonna be a fucking disaster. Oh, there's no way he's gonna make it. 20 kilometers is really not that much if it's spread over a couple of days, but for a beardo like Sam, oh man. I don't honestly know if I could do it myself in my current physical condition. In my Navy days, sure, yeah, why not? But these days, when I spend most of my time being a dad or making YouTube videos, it's debatable. I don't think I would put myself through it, especially not just for fun. And of course, Sir Sam providing the innocent cringe, you know? Pretending to see a trail that nobody else can see. And then when he's corrected on what the lines mean, he's like, oh yeah, you guys don't see it. That's because it didn't exist and you can't admit that you are wrong. Oh, and then the jokes, the supposed jokes. I use that with air quotations around it.
Am I supposed to put books in my bag?
Everybody's like, what the fuck? What is he talking about? Does not compute. Like, it is funny, but only because of the levels of cringe and awkwardness, which is definitely not what he was going for. He was hoping everybody would be like, ha, he's hilarious, bro. What an intelligent observation. But instead, everybody's just like, oh God, is this guy really coming with us? Yes, he is, because he believes in himself and his abilities, which is a good thing, generally, but you also gotta admit when maybe you're not up to something. Maybe you need a little bit of help with stuff. That's okay too, but he wouldn't be the Sir Sam that we know and love if he ever backed down. So I guess we'll jump into the next one and see just how bad things can get. Sir Sam the Chivalrous Goes on a Venture, Part 2, or How My Hobbies Were Saved from the Endangered Species List. Hello everyone, Milady Saber here. This is the first time that she's introduced herself like that, because this is the lucky 13th installment of Sir Sam the Chivalrous. This story takes place a few weeks after Part 1. Reading the previous installments would be well worth your time. Trigger warning. This tale encompasses 3 straight days of interaction with Sir Sam. It is extremely long. We love long stories around here. I'm gonna get it in. Player 1 is me, Lady Saber of House Snark, very enthusiastic about backpacking. I've just joined a local venture crew at the beginning of the month. Similar to fencing practice, appearances take a back seat while in the wilderness. Makeup would just be something else to carry around, and I put my hair up in a tight bun or a ponytail to keep it from getting too disgusting. Cute outfits get traded for athletic shirts and cargo pants, which I'm sure Sir Sam will enjoy those athletic shirts. Player 2 is my boyfriend John, also an outdoor person. He's the one who invited me to the first venture meeting. He has a bone-dry sense of humor, and is much better than I am at keeping a straight face while joking with someone. Player 3 is Sir Sam, the Chivalrous, the whitest knight in all of Westeros. He's likely never spent more than 3 consecutive hours outside. He wears a baggy long-sleeve t-shirt, a wide-brimmed blue fedora, brand new hiking shoes, and thick cargo shorts. Finally, at least one of his clothing articles is appropriate for the occasion. In case we've forgotten, Sam has a high-pitched, whiny tone of voice, which he often employs
As an alpha male.
To get what he wants.
Minor player 4 is Jamie, the venture crew president. A year or 2 older than John and I, he's a pretty average dude, has a lot of backpacking experience, is a fantastic leader, and most importantly, he has a cool head. Like he's level-headed, or you like the shape of his head? Doesn't matter. On Friday evening, my host mother drops me off in the church parking lot. Most who are going to attend are already present. I turn in a check to pay for the trip and the rest of my medical forms. There are 14 people attending, 4 of them adults, all split evenly between the genders. I was only barely able to attend this trip. I didn't bring any of my backcountry gear to America as I didn't have enough space on my flight, and I didn't think I would have the chance to do any real backpacking. I was wrong, and my father, real MVP, paid a stack to have my gear shipped. I still had to make a stop at REI to pick up a few things like stove fuel that couldn't be put in the mail. MVP indeed. Anyways, I plan to be early, but I'm one of the last to arrive. Everyone is gathered around a large plastic bin, reorganizing their packs. While we all have our personal gear, clothes, sleeping bags, survival stuff, there's a lot more to add. Items like tents, a first aid kit, iodine tabs, a trowel, camp stoves, and of course our food. In examining some of the outdated crew gear, I decided to don my white armor and speak to Jamie. Hey Jamie, I don't want to sound rude, but a lot of this crew gear is really heavy.
Oh, hey Lady Saber. The stuff we have isn't the best, but it gets the job done. Don't worry, we split it up so that everyone gets an equal weight.
I realize with annoyance that he's lumped me in with Sir Sam. Here's my second chance at a first impression. Yeah, I get that, but I have my own stuff that might work better than what we have.
Oh, really?
His tone was thick with skepticism. The stoves you have use liquid fuel in a metal canister. Each one weighs almost a kilo. The one I have uses butane fuel. I don't know how fast yours works, but I can boil water in about 5 minutes. I've got his interest now.
I've heard of those. Can you show me?
I spend the next few minutes setting up the stove. The burner clicks into place on top of the flat-bottom fuel canister. I spin a clicker to throw sparks across a stream of gas, and a blue flame jumps to life. I've drawn a crowd.
That's awesome. What else you got?
That feel when you prove you know your shit.
This is the best!
By the end of my show and tell, I've replaced their 2 heavy stoves with mine, and the collapsible metal trowel with my high-density plastic one. I carry those things plus a carabiner and one of my bear bags. My 3-person tent group splits the components up. I carry the poles and the stakes. As we move on to repacking our food, Sam's minivan crests the hill into the parking lot like a carnival roller coaster of dubious safety. He's in the driver's seat with Mrs. Sam on the passenger side. As they get close, it's easier to see just how frustrated his expression is. Miss Sam points for him to turn left, and Sam bangs on the steering wheel like a corporate dad in traffic. I can see by the way his mouth moves that he's raising his voice. They park crooked near the group. Sam squirms out of the driver's seat and opens the back door, producing a fully loaded backpack. He shoulders it, hops, and starts clipping all the buckles into place. Once sufficiently mummified, he strides towards me, tipping his euphoria in greeting.
Hey there, Saber. Looks like I'm right on time.
Yeah, I guess. We're splitting up our gear, so make sure you check in. Sam bobs away happily, and I return to repacking our food. The rations we get are sealed in plastic. Each one contains enough for 2 people. John and I pair up for an eating group. I take Sunday's breakfast and Saturday's dinner. Instead of the entrees included with the sealed rations, we're bringing our own. To repack them, I open the bag, take out the original main course, and replace it with what the crew has provided. With that, my bag is ready to go, along with almost everyone else. Of course, Sam is not quite there yet. He was on the attendee list, so his crew gear and food have already been set aside. Upon discovering this, however,
my gentle sir is most displeased. Hey, Jamie, what's all this junk?
That's your gear, Sam.
No. My stuff is right here.
He jerks a thumb over his shoulder.
Yeah, but there's other stuff you have to carry for the crew, and your food. Stuff that we all need to use.
Sam empties his first flagon of wine.
But no one else is carrying extra stuff. Why do I have to do it?
Sam, we've already packed. Everyone's waiting on you. That gets him moving. He crams a coil of rope and a first aid kit into the top of his bag, while Jamie carefully goes over Sam's packing.
Hey Sam, I just want to go over some of your gear, okay? Why? Just to make sure you have everything. I've got a list. I have everything I need, Jamie. Great, then this should go quick then.
Jamie rattles off his list of essentials, and Sam produces each item, after some rummaging, with a smug grin. Now, I have to give credit where credit is due. Sam does his homework. It took me years to learn about what to bring, what I need, not to mention buying it all. Sam, doubtless with help from Mrs. Sam, collected all this information in less than a month. If neckbeards are good for anything, it's Googling. For the drive, we get reassigned to cars. Guess who's in mine? Not Sam. Gods be praised. Hallelujah. John and I ride together with Jamie and another girl that I'm tenting with. After an hour of driving, we park at the campsite, pile out of our cars, and gather ourselves. I, with everyone else, take off my Venture uniform shirt. We're required to wear them to and from our events, but they're not really comfortable or practical to wear during an activity. I start to unbutton my shirt, revealing my tank top underneath, when I notice Sam is watching me. He snaps his gaze to the side when I look up at him, but carefully returns when he thinks I'm not looking. Skin crawling. I finish changing on the other side of the car. With the sun sinking low, we strike out. John and I walk abreast, alternating between holding hands and punching each other. Sir Sam, sensing that his chivalry is needed to
protect my lady's honor,
wedges himself between John and I, a la our introduction at chess club. The trail might be wide enough for 2 or even 3 normal-sized humans, but with Sam in the mix, John is forced to go off-roading. John and I fall back behind Sam, so he slows down. So we pick up the pace. The game of leap whale continues for almost 2 meters. By the end, however, Sam is lagging further and further behind until he's at the back of the group.
Hey, guys, can we take a break?
He's breathing hard enough to stoke a fire and sweating like he's been standing in one despite the cool temperature. Sure thing, Sam. 5er, everyone. Jamie sets his watch as Sam unclips his pack and collapses into a heap on the ground. Everyone else remains standing, packs on. Sam, don't sit down. It's just a 5er, bruh.
What? Why? I'm taking a break.
You don't sit for a short break, Sam. Makes it harder to keep going. They argue about what one is supposed to do for a 5-minute break for the next 6 minutes. Which is about as effective as reasoning with a stubborn box of pasta. Thankfully, Jamie has a much cooler head than Sam. When it's time to go, Sam reactivates his passive-aggressive alpha male abilities, taking forever to put on his pack. Watching him don it is a circus all on its own. After a significant struggle and 3 people helping him, Sam finally gets back on his feet, huffing and puffing. Before we've gone another half kilometer, Sam starts complaining about his feet hurting.
Hey, Jamie, can we take a break?
It's not gonna help your feet, Sam. We got a long way to go to our campsite. The crew is forced to match our pace with Sam's. He trails in the rear of the group with the adults giving him a pep talk through every single step. By the end of the 4th kilometer, snails are outrunning us. We're forced to take a 20-minute break so that Sam can catch his breath. It's gotten totally dark, but on we hike at an absolute crawl. At long last, we arrive at our campsite. As my tent mates and I start setting up our tent, Sam stumbles over.
Hey, Lady Saber, want a tent together?
What?
Do you want a tent with me? I have, like, the tent part, and you have the poles.
No, Sam. Guys and girls can't tent together. Your tent mate is on your side. He opens and shuts his mouth a few times, looking for an argument, before slumping away, muttering something to himself. As soon as we finish our tents, we have to hang our bear bags. They're to be filled with food and other smellables that might attract some furry friends. There's a very low likelihood of bears where we're camping, but it's good practice nonetheless. Sam and his tent mate, who we'll call Pip, have taken a long time to set up, so they're fashionably late as we fill the bags. Hanging the bear bags is a chore. We have to throw 2 ropes over a tree branch about 10 meters up, tie the bags together, hoist them into the air, and then secure the lines to 2 different trees. Sam, desperate to demonstrate
his prowess in the wilderness to milady,
offers to throw one of the ropes. Jamie, echoing our sympathies, is in no mood for shenanigans that might keep everyone awake longer than necessary. In the dark, it's a challenge to hang the bags, but not impossible. After we finish, Jamie tells everyone, "Go get some sleep. We'll be waking up early tomorrow morning." Sam is not pleased.
Wait, Jamie, aren't we gonna have a campfire?
Sam, it's almost midnight. Go to bed.
But what about our food? I'm hungry.
We are eating tonight, Sam. You should have had dinner before we left. That was in the email. Don't worry, we'll have some breakfast in the morning. Sam fills another cup of wine in protest, but everyone's already turned in. I snuggle down in my sleeping bag, absolutely dreading the next day. It seems I haven't closed my eyes for more than a few seconds when it's light outside. I'm not sure what time it is, but I let the air out of my sleeping pad and crawl out of the bag. I throw on my clothes, stuff everything into its sack, and peek out into our camp. I'm one of the first ones awake, so I rouse my tent mates and we start breaking everything down. We have a long enough trek today, and I don't want to think about how much longer it's going to take towing Sam like a river barge. After taking down our tent and splitting up its parts, the bear bags come down, and we spill their contents onto the ground like Lannister blood. I find a breakfast and a dinner to carry, which I shove into my bag. By now, almost everyone is awake, involved in taking down their own tents or helping other people speed the process along. Pip approaches Jamie.
Sam won't get up.
He what?
He won't get out of his sleeping bag. He told me to fuck off when I tried to wake him.
Jamie and Pip hurry to Sam's lair. Jamie yells through the tent wall, "Get up, Sam! Everyone else is getting ready!"
Dude, it's not even light outside. Go away. I'm still sore from yesterday.
Jamie has now officially run out of fucks to give. He unstakes the fly and rips it off the top of the tent. From where I'm standing, I can't see Sam in all of his splendor, but I imagine his facial expression is something between Smeagol's fear and Gollum's anger.
Trixie Venture Crew leader, we hate him! We hate him!
John and I are sitting on the ground, eating our breakfast of trail mix and freeze-dried cardboard, when Sam emerges from hibernation. He and Pip dismantle the tent and get ready to go, with everyone staring on. As we trek, Sam tries to keep pace with me, asking
how my feet don't hurt with old beat-up boots like that.
They're broken in.
What does that even mean?
Sam, just leave me alone right now, okay? We hike on at a respectable pace for about 2 kilometers until Sam starts to beg for a break. While we stand, John shows me a new toy that he's bought. It's a stick pen with the ends cut off, about 8 centimeters long. From his pocket, he pulls out a plastic BB and pops it in his mouth. With the tube concealed in his fist, he fires the pellet at the back of Pip's shoulder with a quiet It doesn't hurt. It's barely perceptible, like a single small raindrop. It's just enough to make someone turn, scratch uncertainly, glance to see if anyone tapped them, and then disregard it as if it was nothing. If you're the covert culprit of this spectacle, it is hilarious. John pelts Pip a few more times before setting his sights on Sam. He crams a handful of plastic pellets into his cheek, and a hit lands on Sam's lower leg. Sam scrabbles at it, brushes the skin with his foot, and examines the ground. The majority of our morning hike is an uphill climb. The elevation change is gradual, but Sam acts like he's marching the Trail of Tears, if the tears are saturated with high fructose corn syrup. Which in his case, they are. Eventually we cross the stream. We take the opportunity to refill our water, pumping through a filter in our bottles and dropping in iodine tablets. I don't carry bottles though. I just have a camelback with another separate bladder, which is sufficiently awkward to fill with a pump designed to screw onto the top of a bottle. So John holds the bladder steady while I pump, occasionally sloshing it at me. Sam, not to be outdone in the chivalry department, rushes to my aid. He grabs the other side of the bladder while I pump, and valiantly prevents any sloshing tomfoolery from John. Soon, Sam realizes that letting the fragile milady do all the work is unacceptable. He wrests the pump from me, leaving me standing like Tom Sawyer while he slowly pumps the water. Of course, pumping 3 liters of water through a filter is actually a lot of work, and Sam takes frequent breaks to wiggle his arms like wet spaghetti noodles. I try to talk him into giving me the pump, but the chivalry is just too strong with this one. Finally, Jamie saves the day. Sam, is that your camel?
No, it's Lady Saber's.
Okay, but you need to fill up your own containers. We've got another filter over there. I think Lady Saber can handle her own water pump.
I'm trying to be helpful, Jamie.
That's great, Sam, but we gotta get going. Come on, fill up.
I already have.
No, you haven't.
How would you know that?
Because I've been watching you. I think you've drained your camel and at least one of those water bottles.
That's creepy as shit, Jamie.
Jamie shrugs. It's my job. Now give Lady Saber the pump and fill your own water. We're all waiting on you. Again. Sam shifts uncomfortably.
I haven't emptied my camels.
Well, you haven't filled them up either. Come on, Sam.
I don't want to water it down.
That catches everyone's attention. What are you talking about? Jamie pauses. Sam, show me what's in your containers. Sam refuses repeatedly until Jamie snatches one of Sam's bottles from the side pocket of his pack and unscrews the lid. Is this soda?
Yeah, so?
Jesus. Jesus, Sam. Is that what's in your camel too?
No, that's just sweet tea.
At that, the adults play the safety card. They talk Sam into pouring out his beetus juice and filling up with water. The rest of the group watches in stunned silence as Sam pours out his levulose libations into the stream. After replacing fizzy sugar syrup with water, Sam's pace improves. Surprising. Instead of a crawl, we hike at more of a tired trudge. While the original plan was to eat lunch while fishing, We're now so far behind that we have to walk and eat while we hike up the ridge. We take 5 minutes on a rocky clearing to admire the view, which is truly spectacular, though I don't remember it quite as vividly as I do Sam's comments.
This is kinda lame, huh?
No, I actually think it's pretty.
Yeah, me too. I was talking about, the uphill hike.
Oh, while hiking uphill does suck, I'm in no hurry to let Sam think that his wooing attempts are even remotely successful. It's afternoon by the time we crest the ridge and begin our downhill descent. While we had planned to be well into our fishing by now, we've only covered about 8 kilometers in 5 hours. I think most species of rocks move faster. Thankfully, the downhill grade does speed us up. We cover the remaining 4 kilometers in just under 2 hours. Everyone is finally relieved to arrive at the fishing place. One of our adult leaders is the owner of the property, so she wastes no time jumping into her talk. Things are fine until she asks, "Who here's 16 or older?" Most hands, including mine, Sam's, and John's, go up. Alright, if you're over 16, I'll need to see a fishing license, but then we should be all good to go. We dig into our packs to fish out the slips of paper. John and I had gotten ours a week before as part of our greater study of the wild creatures of Walmart. Ooh, that's dangerous. When Milady of the Fish reaches Sam, things go off the rails like a freight train sideswiping a children's hospital. Do you have a fishing license?
I forgot.
Oh, I'm sorry, buddy, but I can't let you fish without a license.
But don't you, own the land?
Well, yeah, but I don't own the fish.
But I didn't know I would need one.
I'm a little fuzzy on the details, but I think that's the same way Jesus turned water into wine. There was an email sent out to everyone. Did you read it?
No. My mom did. She didn't tell me.
Well, your mom isn't on this trip, buddy. That's your responsibility. I'm real sorry, but there's nothing I can do about that. I like how she passively aggressively calls him buddy. That's a good one. We get fishing poles and bait while Sam stews in the grass. John and I find a shady spot on the riverbank. I don't have the patience for fishing, so John lets me try the pellet tube thing. The pellets are biodegradable, so I don't feel too bad about them landing in the river. Of course, that probably also means that they're full of methyl ethyl bad stuff that shouldn't go in your mouth, but oh well. I'm a decent shot, but I'm no good at keeping a straight face, nor hiding the tube in my fist. Jamie, my first target, catches on pretty quick and returns fire with some tiny river rocks. After an hour or so of not catching anything, John becomes convinced that crickets will serve as better bait. Those little fuckers aren't easy to catch, but when I do get a hold of one, I drop it down the back of his shirt. During all this time, Sam is either wandering between different people or sitting on the ground like an angry bump on a spiteful pickle. Spiteful pickle? Oh, that's too good. Eventually, he does make his way to John and I, plopping down next to me with a thud that tips the Richter scale. I don't have much tolerance for one-sided conversation about,
"My stupid fucking mom didn't tell me."
So John and I cross to the other side of the river. The water is ankle deep, but our boots are waterproof. From our side of the moat, we watch Sam fee-fi-fo-fumming back and forth along his side of the bank. He keeps busy alienating everyone he talks to with the same conversation topic, removing his fedora to punch it a few times in between. The respite I get from Sam lasts a few precious hours, until it's time to cover the remaining distance to our campsite. We turn in our fishing gear and mount our packs. The remaining 2 kilometers are behind us before the sun sets, and we set up our camp. For dinner, we fill an enormous pot with water and balance it precariously atop my tiny camp stove. While the water churns to a boil, we dig out our dinner rations and eating utensils. I hadn't paid a lot of attention to the dinner while I repacked it, but now I take a look at the package. Dehydrated spaghetti and Italian meatballs. Fitting. Sam's sour mood brightens like a fluorescent bulb as the hot water is poured into the package. It has to sit for a few minutes as the food cooks itself, and Sam looks like he's about to jump out of his skin with excitement. Once it's ready, he dumps the whole bag onto his plate, and Jamie just barely is able to stop him. "That's to feed 2, Sam! You and your tent mate. Plus, we've got to say grace." Jamie asked me to lead the dinner prayer, even though the only ones I know are in Latin. Sam suffers through it, but contains his euphoria for a noodly reward. After begrudgingly allowing Pip to siphon half of his dinner, Sam dives in, face first. Suffering through a full day of exercise makes this feeding more obscene than usual. It's like shovel feeding a vacuum cleaner attached to a Vitamix blender. John and I eat straight out of the pouch with sporks to avoid dirtying a plate, and we've kept our eyes averted to maintain our appetites. The open mouth chew smack gulping is still almost too much for me. Ugh. Eventually he does finish, and after the rest of us have scarfed our packaged side items and cleaned our plates, we decide to build a fire. Sam is stoked for that too. He scampers to his pack, producing no less than 3 different fire starters: a flint, a box of matches, and a Zippo lighter. Prepared beyond prepared. Jamie rousts us to collect firewood, and getting a dozen well-fed people to hunt in the dusk for sticks is like herding feral cats with a feather duster. An hour later, though, we have a nice-sized fire pile. Our fire ring is the metal rim of an old truck tire half buried in the ground. Jamie and John go to work setting up a log cabin structure of tiny twigs, while Sam eagerly flips his lighter open and closed. Okay, Sam, you want to light it? Go ahead. Sam kneels with his lighter, hits the striker, and nothing. Sparks every time, but a flame never catches.
It's not working. I just got this stupid thing.
Is there fuel in it?
Of course there is. It's brand new.
Zippos don't come with fuel, Sam. Here, let me take a look. Sam cradles the lighter like his last can of SpaghettiOs.
No way, dude. I know how to do it.
Alright, let's see. A minute or two of finagling later, and Sam manages to pull the lighter apart, revealing fuel reserves, dry as Milady after the tip of a fedora. Pip gets a flame to catch with his lighter, and a few of us take turns breathing life into the embers. Soon, a splendid fire is licking away. John and I lean our packs against a nearby tree as a makeshift sofa back. Oh hey, I got a surprise for you. A John surprise is usually something along the lines of an exploding zucchini or two-headed frog, but this is just a Ziploc bag with some stuff in it. Weed! No, even better, it's s'mores. I've never done these before, but I'm all about a toasted marshmallow. I pilfer a twig from the fire pile and strip the bark with my knife, skewer the puffball, and rotate it gently above the flames. John sets his on fire, savage, and blows it out only after it develops a black ashy crust. Gross. I let mine get golden brown and crispy. How is OP, who's never made s'mores, the only one that's doing this right? I don't understand what's up with people burning their marshmallows. Stop it. It's disgusting. The graham crackers are crunched a little, but the chocolate is just melty enough to make a mess. We're able to eat about 3 each before it devolves into just throwing crumbs at each other. Eventually, I can't stand to have melty goop on my hands anymore, so I lick 2 fingers clean and reach into my pack for a camp towel, but it's not where I usually keep it. Instead, my fingers close around something else, which I gingerly pull out. It's my pocket Bible. My father stuck it in one of my outside pockets when he shipped it. He read it to me as a little girl, and it's pretty much one of the only things that we have in common. There's a little note inside the front cover, and the whole thing makes me teary-eyed and homesick. I tuck under John's arms and open to the book of Luke, where all of my favorite parables are. Sam spies my
2,000-year-old cartoon
and decides to enlighten Milady with his own euphoric intelligence.
You know, the Bible has like thousands of contradictions in it.
I don't care, Sam.
Well, you should. I mean, you understand what you believe, right?
I ignore him, but he still presses.
Right?
While I'm seething, John steps in. Hey, Sam, this fire's about to die.
So? Go throw some fucking wood on it.
No, that won't help. It needs a special tool.
What kind of tool?
The left-handed wind shifter. I think it's over there near that pile of crew gear. A few other people sitting around the fire are in on this joke and egg Sam on, while I duck to hide my foolish grin. It's about this long, has a handle on one end, and this weird-looking thing on the other. Trust me, you'll know it when you see it.
Okay.
I'll give you a marshmallow if you find it. He who exalts himself shall be humbled. Sam jogs the few paces away from the fire to where we've piled our crew gear and shuffles around in the dim firelight, searching for this mythical tool that doesn't exist.
What's it look like again?
It's long and skinny, with a handle on the end. You'll know it when you see it. John lets fly with a few pellets while those of us still sitting around the fire try not to crack. Even John lets a wry smile slip. Every 30 seconds or so, he'll fire a pellet towards Sam's shape.
Hey, are you guys feeling like raindrops?
It's probably ticks, Sam.
Ticks?
Yep, little guys smell you and just fall out of the trees. You should check yourself and make sure you don't got any hanging on, especially your, equipment. How he keeps a straight face, I will never know. I shove another marshmallow into my mouth so I don't catch the giggles. None of this is more than standard new guy teasing, but most don't eat it up like a bag of Doritos. John tosses Sam a marshmallow, and soon everyone's sitting around the fire roasting one. John burns his as a sacrifice to the red god. I turn mine slowly, getting it crispy on the outside and almost melty enough to fall off of the stick before shoving it in my mouth. Sam snickers.
Hey, Lady Saber, I bet that's not the only white sticky stuff you swallow.
He grins like an idiot at the faces staring back at him. The girls are silently revolted, and only one guy forces a nervous chuckle. Pip has the stone to call him out. Sam, that's nasty! That perfect marshmallow turns to acid as it goes down. John's about to speak up, but I start first. I squeeze John on the thigh, looking straight back at Sam and say, yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. Then Sam evaporates, and everyone gives me $100%. What? 100% for being so cool and witty. Okay, that's not what happened. Not outside of my imagination, at least. I considered it before remembering rule number 1 of Neckbeards. Don't feed the spank bank. Instead, I spilled my guts like that guy from Saving Private Ryan. Take that back, Sam.
Why?
Because that's fucking gross and it's not funny. Take it back.
It's just a joke. Get over it.
No, it's not a joke. It's repulsive. Like you.
What?
I'm so fucking fed up with you, Sam. You follow me around and ruin everything that I enjoy doing. You insult me, and you don't care how I feel about what you say. It's not the venomous hellfire that I had imagined it would be. It's just calm, even-keeled rage.
What are you even talking about? I'm so nice to you. I wouldn't have even come here if it wasn't for you.
I didn't want you here, Sam. You're not nice to anyone. You're mean to your mother. You're mean to my boyfriend. I don't want to be your friend. Please just leave me alone. My heart is crawling into my throat, and my words are coming out stilted and staccato, but he's taken the hint. For a second, there is a thunderous silence. Sam stands, clenches his fists, and stalks back to his tent without a word. Pip breaks the ice, tossing a stick into the fire. I fucking hate that kid. After another hour or so, the rest of us put out the fire and filter off to bed. Most of the adults are already asleep. As I snuggle down into my bag, I can hear Sam's voice carrying through the woods. The walls of the tent might seem snug and secure, but they have zero soundproofing. From this distance, it's hard to make out the words. Pip's response is nothing more than a mumble.
But it's nice to her.
Yeah. Oh, you just bed.
You take a good time.
And then Jamie's voice rings out, clear as a bell. Shut the hell up and go to bed! The next day is unremarkable. Sam avoids eye contact with me and deliberately keeps his distance all morning. We pack up, hike the short distance back to our cars, and return home right on time. Mrs. Sam waves to me and smiles as they leave the church parking lot. That was mostly the end of my interactions with Sir Sam the chivalrous for the year. We didn't share any classes, and he stopped going out of his way to see me otherwise. Over the summer, we didn't speak or come into contact, but this was still not the end. Whew, boy, that was a long part. I honestly don't know why the sticky white stuff comment was the line. You know what I mean? This dude cut you in the face with a sword, but a comment about marshmallows is what tips it over the edge. I don't understand. I would have had this outburst like probably 5 episodes ago at the very least, because it's exactly what he needs, you know? Little reality check. Nothing wrong with that. I'm glad Jamie seems like a pretty cool, level-headed guy. It seems like everybody would have had a lot more fun if it wasn't for Sam tagging along, which is sad. He ruined everybody's fishing trip, even though he didn't even bring the fucking fishing permit. He didn't even get to do any fishing. And everybody else got dragged down because he's just a lard ass. much like I thought, that they couldn't keep up with everybody else. Absolutely ridiculous. I do like that little pellet gun thing. I would not have stopped hitting Sam with it. And we don't hear a whole lot about John in these stories, but I really like this glimpse into his character where, you know, OP and Sam are about to get into it and he's like, hey, go find that wind shifter or whatever the fuck it was. This tool that does not exist. It's totally, you know, standard new guy hazing stuff, but Sir Sam isn't really clever enough to catch on to that, so he's totally looking for it. 100% because he wants to impress Lady Saber, which is kind of pathetic, but mostly hilarious. Luckily he did get peeled off, but mysteriously there are 2 more parts to this story. Unfortunately for me, time's running short. I'm not going to be able to shove them into this video. My voice is starting to give out a little bit. I got to practice up before we start doing like live streams and podcasts and all this stuff, or else my voice is just going to get wrecked consistently. Especially after doing the Schmiegel voice and stuff like that, man. I gotta have liquids on standby to at least try and help myself recover. I think this is a good point to go out on. Sam mostly left her alone, but I suppose we will have a part 4, a regular size, probably 20-30 minute episode for a part 4. And then we can wrap it up and get a big compilation coming. And then after all that, we'll get into the Wolfbeard Saga, which should be pretty cool. I know people are looking forward to that. It is a top post of all time on r/NeckbeardStories, so I haven't read it myself, but I'm highly looking forward to it. And there's also the Miss Piggy Saga from what I've seen. Again, I avoid other people reading these stories so I don't spoil it for myself, so I still know nothing about the Wolfbeard Saga, shameful as that might be to say for somebody who reads Neckbeard stories on YouTube constantly, but we're gonna change that soon. I've enjoyed the Sir Sam saga pretty well. It's just a bit of innocent fun, all things considered. We've seen some really, really dark shit on this channel, so I'm grateful to have Sir Sam just provide a little bit of levity, you know? And if you guys would like to add some levity to my life, I hope you like, comment, and or subscribe. Share the video around. Probably the first part of the Sir Sam saga is the one to share, unless people are all watching it together, stuff like that. I don't know if that happens. Do people do that? We've also got a link swarm in the description. Not all of those links were shown on the splash card at the beginning of the video, so you should dig through that just a little bit. And of course, I would be remiss not to thank my wonderful, gorgeous, beautiful, generous patrons. You see some names on the screen right now, but in particular, I would like to thank Lady Nix, Robert Waits, Pope Squid, Rebecca H, Cider Drinker, Tato Ferret, The Last Shinobi, Mark211, Michael Undead, Aaron W, and Mitch. If anybody else would like to support monetarily, always massively appreciated. But if you can't right now, then don't sweat it, you know? I just appreciate you coming through, hanging out with me. I hope that you'll come on back and hang out with us again tomorrow. In order to do so, you'll need to keep yourself safe out there, so wash your hands. It's like way more important than you think. Just wash them all the time. And also, take some time out and do something that you enjoy today. Something just for yourself. Maybe it's watching another ReddX video. That would be pretty cool. Anyways, I will see you in the next one, friends. Thank you so much for watching. And until then, bye-bye.